Hello to the one person who may or may not be watching this video right now. This video is going to be, as the title states, a audiobook of a fanfiction that I found called So I'm a Little Sister, So What? This is by Zoriki and is a parody of So I'm a Spider, So What? One of my favorite animes. And I am reading this simply because I enjoyed this fanfic and wanted to read it as an audiobook to practice. Now, Zoriki has put some notes before her book. This is just a one-shot, by the way. It's not a full series. There are some big spoilers up ahead for the story, so if you actually care about So I'm a Spider, So What? As a series, I recommend going and reading it first before actually listening to this. There is a phrase, Naiwa, which is just the main character's phrase that she says. It's similar to saying unreal, but it's just the phrase, just filler words. Okay, let's get into this. Heishin High School. Everybody, it's sudden, but we are welcoming a transfer student today, exclaimed the petite homeroom teacher, Okazaki Oka Kanami. Sensei, just saying sudden doesn't really cut it, said Yamada Shugensuke, lightly scratching his head. Sensei, please say these things earlier, came the usual blunt response from the class rep, Kudosachi. Oh, is it a girl? Wait, considering we have Wakaba-san, it likely won't amount to much. Kusama Shinobu, one of Wakaba Hero's believers, commented. The class was stirred by Oka's announcement. Aside from Hiro, that is. Though no one noticed that Hiro seemed to actually be looking forward to something. Considering how expressionless her face was, it was no surprise that it remained unnoticed. Hoo. Listen and be surprised. Our new colleague is related to one of you, Oka said with a smug face. Come on, Oka-chan, just say who it is, Natsume Kengo demanded. Hey, don't call your teacher using chan, complained Oka. Kengo was not impatient, but he knew that with Oka's childish personality, she was going to tease them for a while before finally revealing who the new student was. The others understood that as well and were used to his attitude, so nobody complained. Fine then. Try not to stare too much at her, okay? You can come in now, said Oka, pointing her hand at the door. The door slowly moved and everybody held their breath. The girl was simply beautiful. She was all white aside from her eyes and clothes that gave her a strange holiness. Long white hair with a side braid, pale white skin, and pink-red eyes. But the most unusual part was that her face was not strange to anyone in that classroom. Wakaba-san? Shun let out a small voice. But Wakaba-san is right over here, right? Oshima Kanata lightly questioned. What the hell? Shinohara Mire looked a little mortified in addition to her shock. Stop! Don't stare at me! You're killing me! Why do I have to be the center of attention? Look towards the window or something. Isn't there a conveniently placed stand on the wall or even the ceiling that can get your attention? The white girl protested internally. The girl seemingly ignored the stares, quietly moved to the blackboard and wrote her name, followed by her short, silent introduction. Wakabashiro, nice to meet you, the white girl said without a hint of emotion in her voice. Good job, me. I did pretty well for a self-introduction. Yay, high five! I can do it when I try. Except, I don't really want to try. Just let me leave my life in peace, in isolation from all these people. Shuo's complaints raged inside her head, but never left her mouth. The same indifferent tone and attitude was even more familiar to her students. They all started alternating between looking at Hiro and Shiro. Shiro was trying to look at the classroom in general, without fixing her gaze in any particular spot. Hiro, on the other hand, was looking directly at Shiro, and, to her classmate's surprise, she smiled. Wakaba Hiro was undoubtedly the most beautiful girl in the school, but she never smiled or expressed any emotion. So many hoped to, one day, see her smile. But contrary to their expectations, Hiro's smile right now was similar to the smirk, and it gave the impression of a predator about to toy with her prey. Some could swear that Shiro was sweating bullets behind that composed posture. "What's with these eyes? I'm not your toy, so don't look at me with those scary eyes. Come on, Sensei, please just move along. I already said enough for an introduction, so come on," Shiro hoped with all her being. Though she never uttered a word, just silently stared at Oka. As you heard, Wakaba Shiro-san is our new friend. You can tell by the resemblance, but she is Wakaba-san's sister. Please treat her well," Oka awkwardly continued. "Oh, Dee's sister, huh? Poor girl, that one. Imagine having Dee as a sister, man. That sounds like hell. Wait, is that my situation right now? Ah, if only I could escape reality like this, I could solve everything. Oka was waiting for Shiro to continue her introduction, but the girl didn't seem willing to add anything else. No previous school, no likes or dislikes, no nothing. Seeing as Hiro was also someone who never spoke or mingled more than absolutely necessary, Oka decided to move on. Actually, Oka wanted to finish Shiro's introduction with more details, but she was also not properly informed about their family's circumstances. It was a little strange that she wasn't informed, considering she was their homeroom teacher, as if some evil god had magically placed this new student there. "Then you can sit. How about you sit beside your sister?" Oka suggested. Shiro was about to say when, "You will sit over here, Shiro." Someone unexpectedly cut her off. "Damn you, Dee, cutting all my escape routes right off the bat. You could at least let me sit a few chairs away from you, right? Right? I'm a free-spirited spider. I should be allowed to make my nest wherever I want. Don't Japanese spider girls have any human rights? Or spider rights, I mean?" For a moment, the classroom froze. They wondered if they weren't hearing things. That Wakaba Hiro actually spoke a full sentence. The shock was so big that they failed to realize that Hiro was essentially cornering Shiro. Shiro was about to reject Oka's attempt at being nice when Hiro, predicting Shiro's response, cut her short and ordered her to accept. Kanata and Sasajima Kyoa, two of the most perceptive among the class, were pretty sure by now that Shiro was scared of Hiro. As soon as Hiro spoke to Shiro, they could see that Shiro's entire body twitched for a moment. She formed a somewhat cramped smile on her face, and she really seemed to be sweating. Though the rest of the class didn't seem to have picked up on that. Even if you say that Shiro formed a cramped smile, it was incredibly small. No one else saw anything. To the others, Shiro looked just as expressionless as Hiro. Understood, One-sama," said Shiro, resigned to her fate. "One-sama?" the entire classroom exclaimed. "Good girl," responded Hiro, ignoring her classmate's scream. "My tongue is gonna fall off. Am I really saying this? Isn't there some strange being taking control of my mouth right now? How could I ever call Dee One-sama? Curse you, mysterious imaginary being. And you, Dee, stop looking so smug. Is watching over my suffering that fun? Okay, deep breaths. Well, having imaginary deep breaths should be useless, but you know what? I don't care. Let's just go and get this over with." Shiro moved towards her seat with slow, heavy steps. It somehow gave the impression of a death row criminal marching towards the execution site. "Come on now, Sensei. Let's start the homeroom and hope that Dee's attention will shift towards the..." Shiro hopelessly hoped for the best. "Well, everyone, since you managed to finish this week's assignments earlier, we have some free time right now. How about we all get to know our new classmate?" happily said Oka. What are you talking about, teacher? Shiro was so shocked, rather than her words, her thoughts stumbled. Oh! Everybody exclaimed. Scorned D. So it was your fault, Shiro correctly guessed. Shiro heard a faint snicker coming from her side, from D's side more specifically. Shiro knew better than anyone how motionless D was, so she just knew D purposely laughed just loud enough for Shiro to barely hear it, like a schemer who gloated over the fact that there was no proof connecting them to the crime. D influenced everybody's mind last week to make them work extra hard and finish everything beforehand. Now, they had free time to interrogate and torture Shiro with their questions. Sure enough, a lot of people surrounded Shiro and D's desks. You two are so alike. Are you twins? Asked Segawa Toku. Your skin is so white. Did you get special treatment? Questioned Temari Kawasaki. Your faces are identical, but the hair and eye color so different, commented Aikawa Ren. Are you a half-foreigner? Your hair looks too natural to be dyed, inquired Kushitana Asaka. I want to know as well, Oka joined in eagerly. Oka-chan became a student in attitude. Again, said Kengo. I have 2 goddesses now, Shinobu rejoiced. This is actually hell, Mirai quietly cursed. Hopefully she's a little more emotional than her sister, Tagawa Kunihiko said. No, what is this nightmare? Leave me alone. My skills, if only I could teleport far away from here, Shiro cried on the inside. Shiro and D were bombarded with questions, but for the most part they were clearly directed towards Shiro. It's not like anyone was close to Hiro, they couldn't even say they were her friends. But seeing that the goddess of the school had a sister, not to mention one so incredibly similar to her, they couldn't contain their curiosity. How did it even come to this? Flashback time. Don't forget that D can read Shiro's mind. By the way, how do you feel about coming back to school? Huh? The 2 goddesses were, once again, playing games together in D's house, and D suddenly presented a strange question to Shiro. D was lazy, even more than Shiro, but if she thought that it would be interesting, D was willing to make an effort. This question was certainly a trap of some sorts. Shiro just couldn't figure out how. School? I wasn't exactly a fan of it, though it's not like I hated it either. Well, it's not like I ever went to school. I only have D's memories as a basis. Well, you see, I just had this idea and thought it would be interesting, D continued, ignoring Shiro. Of course you did. Why else would you even do anything? Shiro pointed out. I'll return to school and you will accompany me, D said simply. Huh? Shiro once again stared blankly at D. She didn't even notice when D once again K in her fighting game they were playing. Return to school? But the school, or at least part of it, was blown away, and Wakaba Hiro is dead to the world's eyes. Are you taking another identity, and why do I have to come together? I'm simply going to use a part of my powers to create a simulation based on my past experiences. You could say that I'm recreating our school and our classmates. Of course, they are still in the other world, but I will make replicas convincing enough in personality, attitude, and memories. And since their memories will be the same up to the moment before they died, you'll be transferring as a new student. Isn't that too much of a hassle? I already said, didn't I? I thought it would be interesting. D deadpanned. But that still doesn't explain why I have to come with you. Weren't you listening? I merely asked for your thoughts. I never asked for your consent. D once again deadpanned. So you are saying it's already decided. I demand my rights as a Japanese spider teenager. You do have rights. As long as they align with my wishes, that is. So none, basically. Naiwa. Since we pretty much have the same face, you will be my little sister. Your what? Shiro's normally closed eyes suddenly sprung open. Also, call me One-sama, D continued, ignoring Shiro's desperation. Is that your fetish or what? Naiwa, totally Naiwa. Your skills will be sealed during this little play. Oh, and I hope you do well on your debut. If you don't answer your classmates' questions properly, I have to think seriously about making that spider self-destruct button, Dee said, not so jokingly. You evil god! Shiro cursed with all her being. Flashback end. Stop! I don't want to die because of a joke button. Just as Shiro was starting to believe there was no hope left, someone unexpected stepped forward. Unfortunately for Shiro, it was not a helping hand. Why are you so silent? Is that attitude something that runs in the blood? Shinohara-san, Hasabe Yuika weakly called her out. Mirei hated Hiro. That was not a secret to anyone in the classroom. She constantly did things that were pretty much bullying, but Hiro never paid attention, as if to say that her bullies were not worth her time, which only agitated Mirei more. Even Oka was not sure about what she was supposed to do. Oka knew that Mirei was not a bad girl, just a little too prideful. But since Hiro herself never complained, the situation was left as it was. Yuika thought it was better to calm her down, but she didn't really know how. Gah, why did it have to be Shinohara? I need reinforcements. Anyone? Yamada-kun, your dragon pet is misbehaving. Do something. And you, Vampy? For a moment, it looked like Shiro directed her gaze towards Negishi Shoko, the so-called spooky, by her classmates due to her somewhat creepy appearance. In the other world, Shoko was reincarnated as Sophia, and she became something of a troublesome, rebellious adopted daughter to Shiro. But that was only the case for Sophia. The Negishi Shoko right now had no memories of anything that happened with Shiro, so she just kept quiet. Unknown to Shiro, Shoko was actually cursing God right now. I always thought it was unfair for me to be so ugly while Wakaba was so beautiful, and now there's another girl just as beautiful, another Wakaba to boot. It's just not fair, and so on. Traitor, how could you, Vampy? When I get my powers back, I will send you on another training session. You're technically another Vampy, not the one I know, but I will do so anyway. You are both Vampy, so it's not unfair. Ha ha ha! Totally not unfair, Shiro selfishly decided. Shiro forgot that along with her evil eye and space magic, she also lost her accelerated thought, so all that thinking was taking quite a lot of time in the real world, not just in her head. Shinohara was getting quite pissed at this point. Are you going to remain silent even now? Mirei hissed. This is looking kind of bad. Rather, this is your fault, Dee. You are the one she's angry at. I'm just getting the collateral. Hey, Mirei's angry voice was interrupted. Isn't that enough, Shinohara-san? Kyoya interjected. Oni-kun? Shiro could see a light somehow. Wakaba-san, the transfer student, seems a little too overwhelmed. She just got here, was bombarded with questions, and you started snarling at her. I think we should give her a little breathing room. Is that fine with you? I'm not sure that what's the deal between you and Wakaba-san. Wakaba Hiro-san, but I don't think you are the kind of person that would blame unrelated people like that, Shinohara-san. Kyoya tried to slowly and calmly diffuse the situation. Fine, I guess I was a little too hot-headed, Mirei reluctantly said. Mirei was not satisfied, but she decided to back off. She was aware that her rage towards Hiro was mostly due to her own pride, and she thought that it would be good to let out her anger on someone whom she had just met. But she simply couldn't calm down, seeing how similar the two Wakabas were. From the stunning looks to the lack of emotions, she still let out a small humph towards Shiro and Hiro before returning to her seat. I still haven't received an apology, though. But anyway, nice, Aniken. I knew I could count on you, the Esper who could always understand me. Seeing Shiro's respectful gaze directed at him, Kyoya somehow felt the urge to retort something, but he wasn't sure what. If he had his memories as wrath, he would definitely say the usual. No, I'm not an Esper, Shiro-san. We are sorry as well, Wakaba-san. We haven't given you our best first impression, said the class rep, finally stepping up. Okay, deep breaths. I can do this. Shiro once again resigned herself. No, I'm sorry as well. For the first time since her introduction, Shiro spoke, surprising her classmates. Shiro absolutely hated speaking, but it's not like she couldn't. And even with all her communication disorders, she could copy Dee's patterns. By emulating Dee, she could speak normally. Aside from the mental draining and the frustration of having to act like Dee, it was a good countermeasure. Answering your previous questions, we are twins, though I was raised separately. My skin was just this way. I never did anything to it. I'm mostly Japanese, but my mother comes from another country. The Great Elro Labyrinth, to be more exact. Shiro tried to explain everything at once. Seeing Shiro suddenly speaking so much, they were astonished. Now that they could hear her voice, they noticed that she sounded similar to Hiro, though Hiro herself never spoke too much. By the way, the whole story about twins raised separately was planned by Dee beforehand. Wakaba-san, what are your likes? Yuika tried to amicably ask. Eating and cue spiders. Oh, I understand you, Wakaba-san, cheerfully exclaimed Oka. Spiders are cute? Questioned Oshima. To think there's another person with this taste as strange as Sensei's, Sachi bluntly commented. Rude. That's rude, Kudo-san, Shiro and Oka exclaimed. What are your dislikes? Do you have a boyfriend? Where did you study before? I want to wake up from this nightmare soon. Shiro was slowly dying on the inside. Time passed, and eventually the time to go home arrived. Shiro somehow managed to survive the ordeal, and she couldn't wait to return home and isolate herself in her cocoon. But of course, there was still one last trial waiting for her. Dee grabbed Shiro before she could do anything and made her walk down the hallway together, side by side. All the students were watching, admiring. The two twins, black and white, a scene that the students swore to imprint in their minds. Since they were just copies that Dee created and planned on erasing soon, that didn't mean much though, but their voices still echoed in Shiro's ears. Hey, is that Wakaba-san? And white Wakaba-san? Said a random student. Oh, I heard about it. It seems Wakaba-san has a twin, said another passerby. If these are like that, I wonder what their mothers look like, a female student wondered. They're so pretty. I wonder if I can take a stealth picture, an admirer whispered. Hey, I heard that. Send me a copy later, an NPC-like student exclaimed. You punks! No pictures! I will sue for violating my image rights, Shiro's mind screamed remained unheard by anyone aside from Dee. Just like that, Shiro returned home, hugged Ariel for some comfort, though due to the difference in height, it looked like Ariel was the one being comforted, kicked Sophia, unfairly, as punishment, and gave a grateful nod and an apple to Wrath, of course, without explaining anything to any of them. I'm not sure what's going on, but I guess you had it rough? Ariel just thought, and once again Shiro had some unknown adventures in the dark and decided not to question her. What did I do to deserve this? Sophia screamed as she trembled on the floor. Shiro-san, what is this? Wrath wondered what he did to make her thank him. Shiro just looked at him with an expectant air, ignoring Sophia's complaints. You should know it, Oni-kun. You are an Esper, after all, Shiro nonchalantly thought. No, Shiro-san, even for me, it's too much to guess with just this, and I'm not an Esper. Wrath's sweat dropped as he retorted. In the end, Shiro just decided to teleport away instead of giving an explanation. The others were somehow used to her behavior and came to the conclusion that it was useless to pry any further, just as Shiro was preparing to relax in her cocoon. That was interesting. I guess we should try it again, Dee remarked. Naiwa! Shiro's despair was far from over.